Hey guys, FilthyRobot here, bringing another guides, tips, and tricks video. This time we're talking about Germany and asking the question and trying to answer the question, how good is Germany? So let's take a look at the bonuses together. First off, we have Holy Roman Empire, which is an additional military policy slot, which is fairly good. Additional policy slots as a whole are really powerful. If I had to choose, if I had to rank the different policy slots in terms of their overall power, I would put the military policy slot at the bottom. Especially in the early game where you only have necessarily maybe one of each of those slots. I think the military one is probably the weakest of the policy slots available. So having an additional policy slot, really nice, but it's probably the weakest of the available extra policy slots to have. However, it can still be situationally useful. Things like upgrades, things like maintenance costs, things like production bonuses. It's not bad in the early game. It's just not as strong as, like, for example, a wildcard policy slot would be, or likely an economic policy slot. But it's decent. +7 combat strength when attacking city-states. This seems to me to be nearly entirely useless, this bonus. City-states, cities in general are very, very weak to attacking. And this is also versus their units, to the best of my knowledge. The 7 combat strength applies not only to the city district itself, but also when attacking city-state units. The thing is, the AI is not great in this game, and the city-state AI seems particularly bad. They don't seem to be able to keep up in eras very well. They don't seem to build a good mix of units. They don't seem to be able to use their units effectively, and they don't seem to upgrade their units as when especially strategic resource-oriented units. For example, all their warriors pretty much never get upgraded into swordsmen, which means they have a bunch of really crappy units around, which means we don't really care. So extra combat strength versus what is essentially an incompetent opponent already really doesn't make much of a difference. So these bonuses are kind of mediocre. The additional military policy slot, nice. It does allow you on your first tier of government, so this is something that's worth mentioning, which I quite like. It does kind of translate on your first tier of government. Oh, can I not see governments right here? Oh no, I can't show government. Let's take a look. What is it called? Classical Republic, right? There we go, that's what I want to look at. Can I actually see the slots? Oh no, yes I can. No, I can't. Damn. Okay, well, I can explain it, even if I can't get the visual right now without checking for a couple turns. Basically, what it does is Classical Republic gives you 1 wildcard slot, 1 diplomacy slot, and 2 economic slots, but the trade-off is you have no military slots. And that tends to be a little... That would be the ideal one. That would be the best Sim City policy to pick up, because in general, economic policy slots are pretty good. And the other ones at your Tier 1 government are 1, 1, 1, 1, where you have 1 of each of them, or one of them has 2 military, 1 economic, 0 diplomacy, and 1 wild card. So those are your 3 options at Tier 1 government, which you get at political philosophy. So the first options for changing government you get here, and you can see the card distribution there. 2 1 1, excuse me, 2 1 0 1 on autocracy, 1 1 1 1 on oligarchy, and 0 2 1 1 on classical republic. Classical Republic synergizes extremely well with Germany because Germany gives them that extra military policy slot, which means you can essentially take 2 economic slots. You can convert your military slot into an economic slot by the time you hit the first government option, and that actually works out pretty well. So there are ways in which you can really utilize that extra military slot to make your government do some serious work for you. So in that sense, that is quite a nice bonus. All right, let's talk about the rest of their bonuses. Free Imperial cities. This is a strange one. Each city can build 1 more district than usual, exceeding the normal limit based on population. I am excited to play with this, but I haven't seen this used super effectively yet. There is a theory going around right now, or a way of looking at this game, that wide is always better. Because there are essentially no downsides to settling wide cities. The things that increase when you settle more cities, things like district cost goes up as you build more districts, builder cost goes up as you build more builders, settler cost goes up as you build more settlers, and I think there might be one more that's slipping my mind right now. But there's no increased cost to science. So science in this game is not particular. I mean, it is population driven in the sense that you still get science per population point. I think it's 0.7 science per population point right now. But there's no centralized multipliers. There's no national college in Civ 6 like there was in Civ 5. There's no national wonders as a whole. So the timing in which you plant cities is a lot less important. It doesn't matter when you put a city down, it's going to be as useful. Whereas in Civ 5, it would screw up your timing on important national wonders to place later cities. It might screw up if you're building a city, on turn 50 after you planted the last of your cities on turn 30, it's going to really screw up your national timing college in Civ 5, but not so in Civ 6. There's no increase in tech costs. There's no increase in culture costs. There's no base unhappiness for settling a city. None of these things apply in Civ 6. In other words, there's not a lot of reasons not to settle more cities, except for the quality of the cities and things like population limits. So cities that have low population can only build very few districts. I believe it's you can build one district for the city on creation, and I think you have to go to pop 4 for the next district and pop 7 for the district after that, et cetera, or some very, very close number. It's basically every three population or something like that, all the way up. It might be 3, 7, 11. It might be 4 population. But anyways, I digress. It doesn't really matter what that is. Basically, there isn't a lot of downside to settling lots of cities besides the investment in the actual settler and the builders to improve that as it is. What this could mean for Germany is that Germany might be particularly good at spamming a lot of very small cities and not worrying about their growing those cities very, very big at all. So the other thing that will limit you if you build a lot is every once you get to population 3 and then population 5 and then population 7, etc. The city requires an amenity for every 2 population past population. For every starting at population 3 and moving for every 2 more population points. I don't think I said that very clearly. But basically, your city needs an amenity at pop 3. It needs 2 amenities at pop 5. It needs 3 amenities at pop 7, etc., etc., etc. What if we just built a lot of cities with Germany and didn't grow them past pop 2? As Germany with free imperial cities, you can get 2 districts. And it's going to synergize really nicely with the Hansa, which we're going to talk about in a minute. If you built a industrial district and a commercial district per city, which gives you an additional trade route per city, which is another form of production, as well as a bonus production industrial district. A bonus in industrial district would give you even more production. I think there could be a ultra wide strategy that would synergize extremely well with Germany's play that I haven't seen quite yet. I mean, we see some pretty wide strategies going on right now, and for reasons we've already talked about, but this may be the Civ most suited to an ultra wide strategy. So let's talk about the unique. I'm going to skip the U-boat. We're going to come back to the U-boat, but I want to continue down this vein of thought and talk a little bit about the Hansa over here and what it does differently relative to other industrial districts. So here's the Hansa. This is a unique industrial district specific to Germany. It does have a discount in cost, so it's going to cost half what a regular industrial district costs, which means it's easier to build it sooner, and the bonuses it's going to give you are going to kick in sooner. It's quite quick to get to. It's a pretty early game district. All it requires is apprenticeship. And if you look at the tech path for apprenticeship, there isn't a whole lot that's required. You are going to have to pick up these core techs over here, and you're going to want horseback riding anyways because it's one of the things you need to defend yourself. But it's pretty easy to get the boost for all of these. Meet another Civ, send a trade route, build a pasture, build 3 mines. Pretty quick to get here in terms of the science off you can get. Building 3 mines is very useful to your empire, as is these other bonuses, and you can actually rush Hansas pretty quick. All right. So let's take a look at the rest of the bonuses. The Hansa has different bonuses than industrial districts. A lot of times the bonuses are just doubled with unique buildings, but these ones actually have very different bonuses. So the Hansa gets production from every 2 adjacent district tiles. That's standard. Gets production from 2 production from each adjacent commerce hub. This is not standard. This is something unique to Germany. And it gets 1 production from each adjacent resource. And I believe this includes bonus resources, which is different than the standard industrial zone bonuses. And it loses the bonuses for being next to mines, which means that Hansa placement doesn't really require you to have terrain. It's all about your city locations, because the optimal way to build them is going to be in pairs with another city, where you build them in a diamond shape, where you build Hansa district here, Hansa district there, commerce district there, commerce district there. That way each Hansa district touches both probably the city center, although not necessarily, but it touches 2 commerce hubs, which gives it 4 production. And then if you have any adjacent bonus resources, it's going to get 5 or 6 production right off the bat, right for settling it. And you can plan that because it isn't dependent on terrain. It's dependent on where you place your cities. So if you're placing cities as close together as you can, the minimum distance being 3 tiles in between. So every 4th tile you can place a city. And then you push out these interlocking diamonds of commerce hubs and Hansas. And then each of those extra commerce hubs gives you an additional trade route, and you're spitting out as many cities as you possibly can. And each of your cities can build 2 districts regardless of its population. That's that 1 being the minimum you can build, and then getting +1 from Germany's Imperial districts. I think you can do some really cool ultra-wide strategies as Germany. And the ultra-wide strategies have a lot of late game potential if you can get them running. They're going to be very high on hammers because they're essentially producing hammers not out of population. They produce hammers out of trade routes, which are going to give you hammers when you send them internally, and out of industrial districts, which are going to give you production. And that's not production that requires your citizens to be working stuff. So it doesn't require your cities to be large to get those bonuses. So essentially, an ultra-wide strategy for them is going to be more efficient at science and more efficient at culture, because those are just those are just basically population driven or district driven. And as you get more cities, you can have more districts. And as you get more cities, you grow more efficiently than fewer cities, because the cost for growth goes up per population point, which means a lot of small cities grow faster overall than a few big cities. So I'm really excited to see how this works out for Germany. I don't think I've seen anyone do it quite yet. I've seen people kind of quasi attempt it. I've done like 8 or 9, or sometimes maybe, I think I've done a 10-city German empire now, but I haven't got much bigger than that. And I was still choosing like kind of decent city locations. I'm going to try a game of Germany in the not too distant future where I'm just placing cities basically minimum distance apart, as many as I can throughout the game, and rushing 2 districts, because I really want to see that work. And I think they have the potential for that. So I think that bonus is super, super cool. I think it's going to, I mean, again, I talked about this with the Japan review, as well as some of the other reviews, that I like bonuses that are going to push me towards playing strategies unique to that civilization, or giving me bonuses to strategies in ways that other civs can't. And I think the free imperial cities combined with a unique industrial district are going to do exactly that. I think they're going to push you towards strategies or give you boosts towards strategies that other civs just aren't capable of doing. And I think that's really, really cool. All right, let's talk about their last bonus. This is the U-boat. The U-boat is a pile of crap. And let's talk about why. Can I eat? What? Really? U-boat? Okay. The U-boat. It's a German, unique, modern-era naval unit that replaces the submarine, cheaper to produce, +1 sight and +10 combat strength, base of 65 melee and 75 combat strength. So +10 is, you know, not even 10%. You know, it's 7.5% of this. Yeah, okay. Not that great. Just let's talk about all the things I don't like about this. Okay, it's a naval unit. Most of our games are being played on Pangea right now. Why Pangea instead of continents? Because Pangea does less with isolation. Well, the only way you can stop a runaway from someone who has a very nice start and who is doing extremely well, and it's going to snowball into an incredibly powerful end game, so you have to be able to war him, sometimes war him with multiple people. That requires you not be entitled and totally isolated. The problem with continents is it doesn't evenly distribute people, and it allows for isolation and runaways much more, so people tend to play on Pangea to avoid that. So right off the bat, anytime it's a naval unit, it's going to be less good in general than the non-naval units. So that's part of it. The second part is, as I've said in every single one of these guide videos, and I think I will continue to say in every single one of these guide videos, the sooner the unit bonus appears, the sooner the bonuses apply from your civilization special abilities, the more powerful they are. This is really late. This requires technology electricity. Electricity is where? Right there. This is midway through the modern, this is at the end of the modern era in all likelihood. This is super late in the game. So, okay, the bonuses are okay. It's a little bit more powerful. It's cheaper to build, and it has +1 sight. All those are good things on a submarine. You like stronger submarines that can see other submarines sooner and cost less production for you to build. But it's so late in the game, and it's so situationally useful in the first place that it makes it almost an entirely useless unit. Overall, my thoughts on Germany are that, again, similar to Japan, I actually class them in a very similar place as Japan, which is I think their bonuses are pretty solid. I don't think these are overwhelmingly incredible bonuses, but I think they're pretty solid bonuses that are going to consistently help you and are going to allow you to do strategies, especially allow you to do strategies that other civs can't do, that may be particularly interesting, unique, or strong strategies if you can get them to work. So my thought on Germany, pretty solid civ, not the best tier civ, but still a pretty decent civ, and it's going to be a lot of fun to play as you do totally different strategies with them. Anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, please hit the follow button. Please come subscribe to me. come check out my content. I produce both on Twitch and on YouTube, and I do a lot of strategy gaming content and a lot of Civilization 5 and Civilization 6 content. So thanks for watching. See you guys soon. Hopefully you're enjoying this series of how good are these civilizations.